Welcome to the Upfront Podcast, where you get your weekly dose of upfront discussions with people from all around the world. My guest today is Ruth Peri. Ruth was born and raised in a small town called Zavet in Bulgaria, close to the Romanian border. She lived in Berlin and eventually made Aliyah 8 years ago, which is the global Jewish immigration process to Israel. In Tel Aviv, her roommate invited a guest over for dinner one night. And that is how Ruth came into contact with Muhammed from Ramallah in the West Bank. This encounter inspired her to participate in the work of local NGOs, and she discovered the commonalities of Jews and Arabs coexisting in Israel. A short time ago, during a visit back home in Bulgaria, Ruth was arrested and jailed for trying to help a refugee that had fled the oppressing forces of the Hamas terror organization in Gaza. 2 years ago, Ruth then co-founded Holy Local Aliens, which is an organization and community that brings people of different backgrounds together that usually don't have the chance to interact. We are discussing the continuous conflict between Israel, Gaza, and the West Bank, which most recently has amounted in an unprecedented amount of missiles being fired towards Israeli cities and villages in May of last year. Because of the gravity of the topics addressed in this episode, this is a trigger warning for people who have been heavily impacted by the events discussed. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, Ruth. It's so great to have you on this week's episode.
Hi, Nina. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very honored.
Of course. So please tell me a bit about your story.
My personal story I would say that would start in Israel when I made Aliyah 8 years ago already. And I came to Israel very open, very curious and excited for the new life. Before that, I lived in Germany for 7 years in Berlin, which was very multicultural society, like crowd in the city of Berlin. Mm-hmm. And when I moved to Israel, I was looking for, of course, with very Zionist ideology, as coming originally from a Jewish community where I was active member and also part of the student union, would not miss any pro-Israeli demonstration in Berlin. And that's how I arrived to Israel, I could say. And then usually at this moment, I say that I was very curious to meet the other side and to see what Palestinians think about me. And when I was preparing for this podcast with you, I said, let me for once tell the truth. And the truth is that honestly, I wasn't so caring about what Palestinians think, like when I say about the other side, I wasn't so much giving, caring about what they have to say. But I always, I always used to say that I cared, I was curious, I wanted to meet Palestinians. But when I have to be honest to myself, I wasn't. I just came here, I wanted to explore Israel, I wanted to learn the history of how we Jewish people made a dream come true, all those miracles. And it was very much by accident that a friend of mine and a flatmate back then, Israeli girl called Dana, she said, we are having a guest for dinner tonight. I invited this stranger, Muhammed, from Couchsurfing. He's from Ramallah and he's coming for dinner. And I honestly freaked out. I thought, are you crazy? It's dangerous. You don't know him. He's Palestinian. What can happen? And it's funny that she had to remind me that moment in my life, because for me already it doesn't exist that me, I would tell you this, but but it's true, it happened. And that night, really, that accidental night where Muhammad from Ramallah came to us for dinner with a 6-pack of Taiba beer and a lot of surprises, a lot of answers that I didn't expect to find, and even like a lot of questions that from then on, from that night, came to my mind that I didn't expect, and that a little bit made me even uncomfortable about what I believed and about what I was coming with to start my journey in Israel. And this is how really like kind of by accident and by surprise, I opened this box of curiosity about the other side, and I started to explore, and I wanted to meet more Palestinians. Now, apparently, I was very not informed, and I was very much like not confident with the answers I already had from my Jewish education and upbringing. And this is why when I joined a lot of NGOs, peace NGOs and organizations where I was participating and volunteering, because I just wanted, to hear and to see more. And that's the beginning of my journey in this like peace community. We're also on the way meeting a lot of friends, and this is what I can really like. It was the only way really to meet friends. I mean, to meet Israelis and like Palestinians to meet. And some cynical Israeli friends would tell me, you want to meet Palestinians? Why don't you go into shipputzim, like construction work, Because really other ways, like, okay, you can be in a class with Palestinians in the university, and I reach out to make friends, but in the end of the day, it's very superficial connection that you only can share about what's our homework, Can you help me with this? Like, there is nothing more beyond that. And also all those, what I then discovered throughout all of that volunteering and participations in the peace organizations, that it was very much about serious conflict discussions, like panels and conference rooms and dialogue groups, where many of my friends would just go there once and never want to come back, because it was not something you really want to occupy your life or your free time. And also this kind of sometimes creating this delusion of peace, that right now you're in a group in a room with 50 people and you all believe in peace. It was even make you feeling so much more naive and giving you this notion that wow, it's all fake. Like, we go out from the room and there is nothing like that, So all of this, I believe that it also leads to the problem why peace today, very bad word. It's very has a very negative connotation in general. It's a very bad word, generally speaking.
So you had been arrested in Bulgaria, right?
Well, it's kind of a side effect of it's not a direct some result of my activities or something. It's just the side effect of having friends that need help. And I come from Bulgaria originally. Sorry if I missed that important point. And before I lived in Germany. And when I was visiting this summer with my sister, who also lives with me in Israel, we were visiting our parents this summer in Bulgaria. And we got a call from a friend that we have a friend from Gaza that we also know from all the peace circles and the peace organization there in Gaza, that he's illegal, like right now, crossing the border with Bulgaria. And once he gets to Bulgaria, he might need help and someone to bring him to the next destination, like to a bus station. So he would continue to Serbia and then to Western Europe, the destination, the dream destination of every refugee. And we just decided that we should just go and meet him and help him. And we were not thinking at all that it can be something, dangerous, because it was already not, they already passed the border, and he was with a group of other boys from Gaza that we didn't know. Like, we didn't know them personally or so. And our mom was with us, by the way, because we were on the way back from a vacation. And when we found these like boys in the Bulgarian forest in the middle of the night, shivering and like from 3 days of wandering around and hiding from the border control and stuff, we like spontaneously decided that we should help them all, and we got them all on our car, like whoever we could. Left our mom with our friend in the forest. Like, it's a long story, but in short, yeah, we got stopped by the border control police, even though it was already inside Bulgaria, and we did not think there should be a problem. But we were very much not aware of the local situation, and apparently this whole refugee wave of crossing borders is a huge, very popular in Bulgaria, and there is border control police everywhere, and they immediately accused us in trafficking illegals, and they all sent us to jail, which was like about 40 hours altogether, and it was a bit of really not an experience you would like to have on after a summer vacation, but it also opened a lot my eyes about what's the situation with the refugees and how they're being treated, and we still consider that, even though it was kind of stupid from our side not to check how that we actually were smuggling, and we were not aware, and we should have checked all the situation. But nevertheless, we helped them because they would be treated way worse if we were not there, and they would be caught anyways. And also to see this, how, they treat, like how the local Bulgarian police are talking about these people. They call them Talibans, they call them animals. They literally use terminology that is not for human beings. And this was for me, very eye-opening to see what's the situation like. I mean, we always think that the worst, the worst situation is here in the Middle East, but it's actually happening all over the world.
So what eventually happened to them?
So now it's a long story. We are finding a good lawyer. Actually, only the last week, our friend, he received the humanitarian status, which is a bit lower level than refugee status, because based on his peace activity and all of that, the other boys didn't receive at all. They were sent back to Turkey. They can't send them back to Gaza. That's impossible because the borders are closed. But they were sent back to Turkey, and our friend, he still has a hope. We are still working on it. It's really very exhausting and long process, but we got a lot of people on the way who helped us from Bulgaria and from outside. So we are still working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine that's quite an experience. But good on you for helping him. I mean, that's really inspiring, I think. Do you know, has he told you anything about his story, like why he fled Gaza, or how he did it? Or is that something that shouldn't be known, or do you think there's much more people who want to escape, sort of?
It's a classic story. I mean, every Gazan who wants to be safe would like to escape Gaza. It's not not that he can, it's very hard, and you need a lot of money. Actually, you need to get money from somewhere. He was really a peace activist, and he was threatened by Hamas many times. And all of his other friends went to jail to Hamas, even just for having a Zoom call with Israelis. It was a famous story last year during the first lockdown. There was a big Zoom call between Israelis and Gazans, and then all of these Gazans went to jail. And the situation for Gazans, it's worse from every side, because they are in between everyone is their enemy, sort of. So they don't have any safe space there. And it's very, of course, when you get the chance, when you get the money to pay to the corrupted Egyptians to cross the border to get to Egypt, and then you get some money to get to Turkey, and then you're looking where can you have a bright future. Specifically, our friend, he used to be a lawyer, and he really wanted to have just a normal, quiet life. But in Gaza, that can never be the case. So he's trying his best, and he's still very and there are many things to consider about not only his security but also his family that is still there. And this is why it's not like we can make for him a broad, like open TV where he tells his story, like coverage, because he can't really openly tell his stories because his family is still in Gaza. So there are many details, there are all those that make someone from Gaza, and also the fact that the European Union doesn't recognize that if you're from Gaza, you need a refugee status, like Syrians, for instance. So they have it even worse than Syrian refugees or Afghani refugees nowadays. I mean, it's very sad. But what is kind of nice is in the end that the people who helped the most were Israelis, were Jews and Israelis, and we feel that it's the right thing to help to people from Gaza. I have this feeling among my community and friends. In the end, really, the biggest fundraising was mainly from Israelis.
Yeah, I feel like it is sort of like a Jewish Israeli thing to provide humanitarian help. Also, when there's like catastrophes happening around the world, the IDF usually steps in and helps, like with Miami, the building collapsing and everything. So I do feel that's sort of a tradition as well. Yeah, and also about Gaza, I feel like personally that's sort of the impression I got from news coverage and all of this like Hollywood propaganda and everything. It seems like as if you either have to join Hamas, which is a terror organization, or you're, well, kind of set up to fend for yourself. And yeah, I don't know how you could possibly like escape that life and live a normal life there, right? Because a lot of the funding also, especially from Europe, goes to Gaza, and a lot of it is used for like weapons and terrorism and stuff like that. So the rest of the people actually living there who are not involved in these like activities are just left to, well, deal with the infrastructure as it is, right?
Well, what you tell now is what like, yeah, general knowledge from like news and stuff. And it might be, whatever, true or partially true. What I know and what in general is also my belief is that you should know about the stories of the people there from the people personally themselves. I can only say, I don't know statistics. I don't know what funding goes where. And honestly, I don't care so much. I care that my friends that I know for many years and they share their personal stories with me, showed me videos, during the rockets that they're falling on them from Israel. This is what I saw personally from them, from their families, meeting their parents or cousins, and hearing those stories. I left my brother died during this bombing, during that. So of course people hate Hamas more than they hate Israel, for sure, because they are there. But it's also it's hard to judge, whose fault is it in the end. This is why for me Gazans are the biggest victims of all. They really pay the price for everyone else. It's they're between those games of of the big politicians that nobody recognizes the right, and having those very good friends that some of we have friends from Gaza that speak English like British natives, because all their lives there they are studying and learning with very good teachers online, and they're very highly educated, and it feels just very sorry that they're going through this hell, literally. Yeah, and this is why I think Israelis very often tend to be the first to help Gazans, because I think we do feel that we carry a big part of what's happening to them.
Yeah, also I think historically we know what like sort of at least the portrayed underdog kind of feels like, right? So, like during the last round of missiles from Gaza, which came after Sheikh Yara, which was a court, a legal process, and then an eviction from housing in East Jerusalem. So there was like a lot of missiles being fired to Israel from Gaza, from Hamas, obviously, not like the individual sort of innocent, quote unquote, person. Um, but there was an extreme like rise of anti-Semitism worldwide, especially I think being spread on social media. Even though Jewish Israelis were like actually the ones being first of all attacked all over the country. What is, in your opinion, why is there such a bias against Jewish Israelis from people globally?
Mm. So, so in that period of time, actually, and also I still, I mean, we've been talking long, but I still haven't even opened up about our community and organization that I have founded together with friends 2 years ago. And it's and I need to talk about it because it's basically how we lived through whatever happened in May and every conflict that happens. It's really helpful to have this community that you can, reality check what's the situation like. And our community is basically Israelis, Palestinians, and many, many others. Among those others, we have people from minorities often are very much excluded from the Holy Land, and it includes, Christians, Armenians, Druze, Samaritans, Black Hebrews. Like there are many others, but there are also many international expats that live in Jerusalem, Ramallah, Tel Aviv, and they're also part of our community. And in general, we all started with just doing friendly trips, friendly events. But then it also came, as a community of friends that are keeping it in touch on a daily basis, that go to each other's birthdays, that are invited to each other's weddings, like a real vibrant community. We also couldn't close our eyes on all the bad stuff that is happening around us. And during this, the war in May, definitely a war. And we were organizing for the first time sort of a sharing circles where we just wanted to, for the first time openly talk about what we feel and how we are living through this. And also we had as well many Jewish students that were on Masa, on like exchange programs, and they were also telling us like, I'm being attacked from all my school, especially those who coming from this Berkeley University or, all those liberal universities. They were also sharing their trauma of being all the time, they're facing with anti-Semitic attacks. And we had this discussion. And first of all, of course, my personal opinion is that to take side is always wrong, no matter where you are, especially if you're so far away. To change your profile picture and to say where it's written, I stand with Israel or I stand with Palestine, is the worst you can do for peace. To put one of the flags and to so on, that's 100%. And that's definitely this polarized, our social media reality that enabled us to become so polarized and to be so even more extremely one-sided than before. It's the worst that could happen. But at the same time, what I don't know what but what but, because for me, if you don't meet personally someone that you want to have dialogue about, hey, are you anti-Semitic right now, but can you really look into his eyes, and can you both respect each other to have some sort of serious conversation, or you're just chatting on someone else's post thread in hundreds of messages and accusing each other of who is a bigger anti-Semite, or no, it's anti-Zionism, or I don't know what. if I mean, this is why, yeah, the whole point of our community and of our at that time sharing circle was to be based on mutual respect and mutual acknowledgement that I listen to you because I respect you, because I respect you as a human being, as a friend. And this is why I'm actually really interested to listen to your point of view, even if I completely disagree. And it comes to a moment that a guy from a Balat, a refugee camp that is considered to be the most criminal Hamas 99% refugee camp in Palestine, a guy from there who was part of our community told to his new friends from Tel Aviv, hey guys, lot of rockets are falling on you and I'm seriously worried. And we have these like 2 rooms that I can host you at least for a few days. Ridiculous, right? Like people from Tel Aviv will come to be hosted in a refugee camp to be to be safe from rockets. But the guy was very
That's
honest
really
and
sweet.
sincere. Yeah, he didn't
Hmm.
think there is something, not why someone wouldn't do that, like why it can be. And that's the result, to see each other really as human, personal human beings, to understand someone's character, not just to talk to him as they, as numbers, as as news feeds.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really open approach and definitely like gives you more of a perspective, I think, of the entire situation. So, do you ever feel like there's sort of an inner conflict within you, between like protecting your ancestral homeland and the people of your ancestral homeland and helping others, like being pretty much oppressed, right, by Hamas in Gaza and in the West Bank? I don't think the situation is that much better. It's a bit more open, I guess. But do you ever feel that there's like sort of an inner conflict within you, between your work and like your heritage, I guess?
No, not at all. It's the first time I'm even first ever time in my life I'm thinking of this question, that there might be an inner conflict. Definitely not. I believe my Zionism is based that the Zionist state should be just and equal and provide equal rights to every human being. So I definitely don't see a conflict with that, because I believe that by tolerating others, by educating ourselves about the others in the Holy Land that are not only the Jews, it's actually the most Zionist thing to do. The dream scenario of what the Zionist land should be like. I mean, we are here also, the Zionist concept is to create the perfect homeland, no? Like the perfect state, also that can be a role model, or a goyim, like we can, show the others that we can create one day the perfect state. Of course, it does not exist until now anywhere in the world, but yeah, it's one of our like dreams, Zionist dreams. In any society, why would you like to have only the same people? Everywhere there are minorities. In every country and in every state, there are minorities that also call it their homeland. There are regional conflicts everywhere in the world, but especially in the Holy Land, throughout the history, it's been a desired land by every single nation to be settled here, because it's the land of God, it's the land of promises, it's in the middle, so to say. So, the Jerusalem syndrome, famous here. And this is why we should be a bit tolerant to that. We should make a bit space for everyone else to come and say, I feel here at least welcome, the minimum.
So, because of your line of work, I'm sure you're the perfect person to ask this. What are like common misconceptions between like Jews in Israel and Arabs in Israel? Like, what do they think about each other that might be completely wrong?
No, actually, it's a great question. I tell you why. Because every, first of all, every single person, and even if you say Arab, has his own definition about how he would, define the other and himself. And every time you can discover, it really depends like who you ask. And also you can't even generalize if you ask the Israeli Arabs, because if you ask the Palestinian Arabs, they also call them differently. They call them, for example, they call them Palestinian Israelis for them, and we call them Israeli Palestinians. So like Israelis. So it's a lot of, angle from depending from which angle you look, like stereotypes. It's a whole kingdom of, wow, like a box of stereotypes here, a box there. And you're just, oh, I didn't know of this one. I didn't know that this group is stereotyping you this way. So it's, for me, it's always exciting because it's always like one more bubble is bursting when you encounter someone you never encountered before from a certain small group. Because it's also like you're Israeli Arab from the center of Israel or from the north of Israel. Oh my God, if you're from East Jerusalem, it puts you in a completely different box. It's a box on itself. So it's so, personally, like me also, my biggest incentive to be part of such community of all the time bursting bubbles and stereotypes is not to make them. And I'm already so not used to give definitions and say about what are the misconceptions, because misconceptions are everywhere all the time. In a way, it also makes it more fun for us, but the biggest fun is really to notice how, oh my God, I didn't think of that. Oh my God, I never thought this is how you put it. Like this is how you could, interpret it. And that's the fun of it, about interfaith, multicultural encounters where people are just first time meeting, someone who Samaritan, but it's actually Jewish. But wait a minute, we call them, you do Sukkot, but you don't do Hanukkah. So it's very exciting.
Very nuanced, it sounds like.
Yeah. So many nuances, right? But I feel like personally, I can't give any more definitions, because I know that, this friend will totally disagree with me if I put it this way.
Do they also see themselves, like among themselves? Do they see that there's sort of a difference where they identify differently, whether they're from Gaza or from the West Bank? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, of course. It's 100% different. I mean, they have a huge folklore about how different it is to be from where you are. I mean, it's even different inside the West Bank. If you're from Hebron or you're from Nablus or you're from Jericho, you already are different.
So down to the nitty-gritty of it. So you've actually founded an organization called Holy Local Aliens, right? What inspired you to come up with the idea of bringing people together?
So it's actually great, though, that we talked before now, because all of that situation and the lack of those stereotypes, a platform for those connections to come in, to happen, a lack of this basic human need to just reconnect and relate and become even crazy as it is, become actually friends. And not just, I've heard that or I know about them, just to say, oh, my friend told me this. That lack of this kind of safe space made me and some friends to start what we started, the Holy Local Aliens, with having in mind to completely deconstruct the whole notion of peace, of the conflict, not to have it this heavy burden on the new generation's shoulders that your parents didn't solve it, now it's your turn. So we wanted really to, to make a little bit also fun of it. And this is one of those reasons for our name, that we didn't want to be taken too seriously and to have at all the word peace inside, And at the same time, we also felt the word alien. We really felt like aliens because to be in such a diverse group of heterogeneous group of friends, and to be approached by past buyers, for instance, on a hike, who would make us a group picture and they would ask us, where are you guys from? And then they would hear, I'm from Ramallah, I'm from Shem, I'm from Tel Aviv, I'm from Beersheba. We have someone from India and always a German guy or a German someone. And the people, the strangers, that would approach us would be, who are you people? Like, who are you? Like, totally strange and not normal. And this is how we said, so we are aliens then, because it's not normal, unfortunately, nowadays in our reality, especially in the Holy Land. And again, we call it Holy Land, so we don't even stress people with Israel and Palestine, because then immediately we will be labeled with, with one of the two. And this is why we even, we just noticed that people here are so used to just hang out in their own groups, religious. There is this LGBT support group, which is great, but, it's also not mingling, it's also not coming in touch with other groups. So this multicultural exchange, and to unite it and to go beyond the human norms of prejudices and stereotypes, we came with this aliens idea. But in the reality, it's just another peace building interfaith coexisting organization.
One of those events, have you ever encountered any kind of hostility or mistrust?
So definitely not from the participants, because for anyone who already wants to join and sign up for our trips or events, they already need to, to risk it and to be that open-minded, at least, to come and join. So we never had anyone, from the participants who came who was hostile, but we did have people who would, just randomly join without being invited. And it wasn't so bad, because it just felt that they also need their space to just speak up. And we patiently listened to them and just moved on, without really opening into a conflict with a stranger. Because I think that's the most important here, that, of course, we have conflicts. We are friends, Friends fight all the time if they're good friends, you know? So it's like, we always make the joke that we are more fight than peace organization, because we do argue a lot with each other. But it's a completely different level when it's friends, on a friendship level, because then you can always have this, listen, me and Samir had this really serious fight after the kibbutz, and then you have friends that, yalla, you should talk about it. You should, apologize to each other, whoever hurt each other's feelings and so on, because you're friends. When you are arguing with someone who is just a stranger, you will never want to apologize to him if you hurt his feelings.
So what kind of events do you do?
So we have started 2 years ago. And I'll start chronologically from our last event. I will not share all the events. We've hosted more than 70 events in these 2 years. But our last biggest event that I was super busy with, and all of our core group team, it was a festival, that not usual festival. Maybe we shouldn't even have called it exactly a festival, because it was more of a gathering that we marked our second birthday. And throughout 3 days, we asked our very own, we call them aliens, members, to prepare some workshop, whoever wants, some kind of a workshop, teaching, or a class. So, and also those who could perform whatever they can. And we had this crazy mix of all types of, we had a few different dance workshops. We had writing workshops, meditations, yoga. We have a doctor from Ramallah who was teaching us basic reflexology, and someone who was explaining about non-violent dialogue, like conflict dialogue groups, and also many different people came just to really from all over. And it was a very special event because it really summarized what we have been doing for the last 2 years, mixing expertises and teachings and people from all over the Holy Land. And also, so prior to that, we have loved a lot to hike in the nature, especially because it was during the COVID period where inside events were forbidden. So we really focused on going outside and doing a lot of hikes in the nature, in the desert, really amazing discoveries. Also always with locals who will guide us, who know the area and who know where to go during this time of the year is the best. And then another big and important part was community visits. Like we would approach first time the Samaritan community. It's a very interesting community. They live on the top of the mountain in Nablus, Shem. We would visit them actually 3 times. But 2 months ago, they had a celebration Sukkot, their own Sukkot, which is later than the Jewish one. And we went there for not just a visit, but 2 days of really staying there with them, sleeping there, eating there, learning all their secrets. So this was really what we as aliens, like is this kind of group that we are really want to be so curious and knowing everything about the communities, not just superficial visits, it's all about the depth. Like also when we went to the Druze community and we stayed there also for an entire weekend in the Druze village of Yarko with a local friend as well. And she was telling us like things, because we also had enough time. It wasn't like we go for 2 hours to visit a museum. We really spent enough time to immerse ourselves into how they live their lives. And this is also a very unique project that we have. And another project that we recently started to work on, it's called Alien Talks, where we visit or invite some interesting guest speaker to give us a talk and discussion with us.
Oh, wonderful. Have you been able to secure any funding from the government?
Wow, sounds very big. But until now, we actually haven't been securing any funding. And it's something we as organizers, whoever like is in our core group, maybe doesn't talk so good about us, but it's also talk amazing about, until now, everything we have done, and it's enormous, it's only from our own participants, including Palestinian participants that come to our events, that they are paying their own expenses, but also from people who know us personally and private donors that support us. And we are we are about to get out there into the world of fundraising. And I know that it's a bit of a fight with, it's very competitive. And we are honestly a bit afraid of it. But I know we have to do it if we want to grow and, to get to some bigger achievements and develop our organization. But we still actually haven't. And it's also one of the reasons that we are afraid to get some funding that will make our amazing no agenda, mission statement policy will somehow affect it. We really don't want that. So we wouldn't take any funding, that is from some biased organization, even a government one. Like we really want to be very careful with that, because this alien's name, it costed us a lot to, to keep this image transparent of not having any taking political agenda, having some kind of, ideology.
Allegiances and stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we are about to depth into this, in the coming year. This will be our main mission, to see where we can get funding from to keep our transparent agenda, but we'll see. It's one of the challenges we have. Yeah, we want also to know where the funding comes from. You don't. Of course, donations are welcome from anyone, but at the same time, we invite people to engage with us, no matter where they live. We have vibrant, active social media, both on Facebook and Instagram, and people can contact us. And we also are welcome ideas and partners. Not only we want give us your money and whatever, but this is also our idea that we also want to present to visitors of the Holy Land, and we want actually to build a sustainable business model where we don't only depend on donations, but we also offer this local experience to get to know locals from all those communities and sites in this very not touristy way, but in this authentic local way.
Can I ask you, as one of the last few questions, what would you say, what do you personally think needs to change in Israel? Or also including the West Bank and Gaza? I mean, all three.
I agree. Let's change. Not only. Honestly, what I would change everywhere in the world. I think it's pretty general message that it's not only. I mean, in the global world we live today, it's not like a problem. The populism. It's not only a problem in the States or in Europe nowadays. And it's everywhere. And it's not like we need to what we need to change. It doesn't also come like we need to change the politicians or whatever. They're the mirror of our society, and it very much starts with what we are brainwashed and fed with in the schools. How we get out of that, because basically all those prejudices, stereotypes and concepts come to us from very early age. For instance, it's a great example for me. I'm seeing how my cousins are now age 4, and they are learning not to mistake at and ata, like female and male in Hebrew, and they really don't understand why should they make this the separation between female and male. It's not in their human nature. They just and I think, wow, it's a great example how from very early age we are being designed to put in boxes every single human and every single thing. And when I think in that abstract global way of what to change, we should just bring some more critical thinking starting from early age, and of course from the schools and from education, and to just try to raise a bit more critical society that doesn't buy anything that the populist on the TV will sell them. This is what the whole world needs, and especially the Middle East.
So in Israeli politics, I feel like more than pretty much any other country, I feel like security and safety are sort of ruling what people, what party people vote for. Unfortunately, it does seem like right-wing parties often do seem to be offering a better solution for people's safety concerns. And the left-wing parties are more portrayed as neglecting these issues and rather promoting a two-state solution that many people in Israel do feel is not such a good option in terms of their own safety. In your opinion, what could the government do to ensure that there's not such a prevalent threat?
I don't feel like saying what the government should do, because I don't know, I don't feel in a position of the government, because I don't know, is the government right now thinking for the good of us or for the good of theirs? I'm not sure. I come from Bulgaria. We hate our government. I came to Israel and suddenly everyone is in love with politicians. I'm like, wow. I'm totally shocked, but to be a politician is the worst profession, you can dream of in Bulgaria. But anyways, I think that's about security and safety. It's very wrong for me that also the way it is presented that the left, and maybe it's true, like the left are less caring about security safety, because I see it, and again, like it's so hard to keep your apolitical image. For sure, everyone who listens to me is convinced that I am left-wing and whatever, even though I voted for the Pirate Party in the Israeli election. But for me, security and safety, and let's again like talk on a small, like with examples on the ground. I go to Ramallah safely and secure because I have a very good friend who is there with me, and I'm 100% confident and feeling safe because I know that he's there with me and nothing will happen to me. I don't go to Ramallah with a gun thinking that, wow, I'm safe because I have a gun, or I have an army surrounding me, and this is how I go in those areas. I mean, this is just another approach to security and safety, just from another way. You go there not from the super strong army and guns and you're protected and secure. You go there because all your supposed to be enemies are your friends. And why would you feel not secure and safe if you're surrounded by friends?
What do you personally think about a two-state solution, if I may ask?
Yeah, so again, like I need to keep my apolitical image. So I can't,
Right.
I know that if I say, oh, I'm for two-state solution, oh, okay, for sure, you're left-wing. But I honestly, it's not so black and like it's very complicated as well. You can't just do two-state solution because you already have so many settlements that will not like pack their stuff tomorrow and go. So it's way more complicated than that. I also don't want a two-state solution where Israel and Palestine are cut off from each other. It's also not possible. I believe they are very much intervened forever, even like no matter if they want or not. And it's not possible to just independently cut two states. That's how I see it and feel it. This is also what I know from my Palestinian friends, that they don't want to see a Palestinian state that looks like Jordan. So I wouldn't say I'm from some very clear two-state solution. I don't think there is a two-state solution. I think there is, in the end, we are all in this together, and we need to think how it can actually exist as one. I don't know if it's whatever terminology of federations or two states with autonomies. There are all those solutions that we don't know. But until we get there, I still think that we need to give a bit more. I mean, we have a little bit more work on the ground to get to those solutions. Like,
sure.
I think before the solutions, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So historically, there were a lot of Palestinians in Israel who were offered the Israeli passport but refused, and they seem to still be like very much against the state of Israel as a Zionist nation, as a Jewish nation. Are these people that also join your events? Because I think to them it would also be it would help them greatly to understand the whole very complex subject matter.
No, and so first of all, everyone is welcome to join our events. Not everyone does, of course. For many Palestinians to come to any event with Israelis, it's considered normalization. And it's a big issue in their society because it means they normalize the status quo. They can be blackmailed with this normalization label. And so still
By their society, or is that by like the Palestinian Authority or Hamas?
it can be both. It can be both. It can be that someone will be called to the police office and say, we accuse you, we catch you in normalization. And it can be that simply his co-workers or neighbors will say, you are normalizer, So it is a big issue, and it has, it is cultural and historical roots and whatever, and the mentality in general, and in this society that it's all about judging. I mean, also like any other religious society. And this is why, in general, this is what you said, this example of Israelis, of Arabs who didn't want to take Israeli passport. It was mostly the case in East Jerusalem here. And nowadays it's so different because even most East Jerusalemites would like Israeli passport, but it's very hard to get it already. And it has a lot to do with so many, what the situation was like, and the property issues and laws. It's so many crazy details here that also have their roots from British mandate laws. That it's like it's very hard. I think for me personally, it's crazy because I've been listening stories for more than 7 years now in Israel. Even I made Aliyah 8 years ago, but and I still can hear every day a new story about a completely crazy story about another case of a Palestinian or of an Israeli that had this story about what happened to him. So it's very hard to say, but in our organization is, of course, everyone absolutely welcome, because all those voices, every single voice should be heard and should be respected. If it also gives respect to the others. I mean, that's all about it, I think.
Well, that was beautifully put. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. That was Ruth Peri. Thank you for being here, Ruth.
Thanks, Nina.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Upfront Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss out on any new episodes. We will be back next week.